Dear students, today we are going to study a new poem, John Brown, written by Bob Dylan. The poem, written in the form of an anti war song, the theme that reflects in this poem, war and its horrors, false notion of glory and bravado. John Brown is an interesting anti war lyric which describes the horrors of war and the ease with which men find themselves trapped in one. The idea of being a hero in the battlefield is as tantalizing as it is fatal. This idea of heroism is often driven by a false sense of bravado and machismo, which drives men to a situation where they find themselves a trying kill somebody or dying try. It is too late when they discover that all the power and glory is nothing more than political puppetry where the strings are pulled by powerful, interested players. This aspect is further explored in the poem John Brown by Bob Dylan. Let's go to the stanza-wise explanation. First stanza. John Brown went off to war to fight on a foreign shore. His mama sure was proud of him. He stood straight and tall in his uniform and all. His mama's face broke out all in a grin. In the very beginning of the poem, Dylan introduces the two characters in the song. John Brown, a young soldier, proudly marched off to fight a war in a foreign land. Wars are usually described as heroic deeds. Hence, his mother was really proud of him for participating in such a courageous act. His mother's face was filled with joy as she saw her son in his uniform. She was really proud that her son was going to serve the nation. The words like tall, straight, and uniform intensifies the sense of pride felt by both mother and son. Second stanza. Oh son, you look so fine. I'm glad you are a son of mine. You make me proud to know you hold a gun. Do what the captain says. Lots of medal you will get, and we will put them on the wall when you come back. In this stanza, the mother compliments her son and says that he looks really fine in his uniform and that she's really glad to have a son like him. The image of her son holding a gun was a source of pride and satisfaction for his mother. She advises him to follow the captain's orders so that he can secure a number of medals. She says that she will proudly display his medals on the wall after his return from the battlefield. Here, the mother fails to realize the harsh realities of war. She is under the misconception that she is going to see her son in the exact same condition as she sees him now. She is ignorant of the impending doom upon her son's life. Third stanza. As that old train pulled out, John's mom began to shout, telling everyone in the neighborhood, "That's my son that's about to go. He is a soldier now, you know." She made well sure her neighbors understood. As the train accommodating the soldiers left, the mother began boasting about her son. She made sure that everyone understood that her son is a soldier and is off to war. She is not only proud of him for doing good to the nation, but she also wants to flaunt and boast about her son in front of other people. Fourth stanza. She got a letter once in a while and her face broke into a smile as she showed them to the people from next door, and she bragged about her son with his uniform and gun, and these things she called a good old-fashioned war. Oh, good old-fashioned war. John was already gone to war. He sends letters to his mother. The mother involuntarily smiled when she received a letter from her son. She shows her neighbors the letter and brags about her son in the uniform holding a gun. Her son was achieved a recognition in the good old-fashioned war. Here, Dylan indirectly mocks the idea of old-fashioned war that were glorified by men. The sufferings, pain, and cruelties of human beings towards other human beings is never highlighted in old-fashioned wars. Fifth stanza. Then the letters ceased to come. For a long time they did not come. They ceased to come for about 10 months or more. Then a letter finally came saying, "Go down and meet the train. Your son is coming home from the war." As time passed, the letters stopped coming. She did not get any news about John for about 10 months now. It could be either because John got seriously engaged in the war or because he was not in a condition to write any letter. Finally, she received a letter that said that her son was coming home from the war and that she should go down and meet him at the train. Sixth stanza. She smiled and went right down. She looked everywhere around, but she could not see her soldier's son in sight. But as all the people passed, she saw her son at last. When she did, she could hardly believe her eyes. The mother was comforted at the thought of finally uniting with her and smiled. She excitedly went down to the train station and looked everywhere for her son but couldn't find him anywhere amidst the crowd. Here, her soldier's son refers to the mother's idea of seeing her victorious son, standing tall as he returns home. Finally, when people moved away, she saw her son in an unbelievable condition. Seventh stanza. On his face was all shot up and his hand was all blown off, and he wore a metal brace around his waist. He whispered kind of slow in a voice she did not know, while she couldn't even recognize his face. Oh Lord, not even recognize his face. This stanza describes the heroic and deplorable condition of John Brown. His face was all shot up and his hand was all blown off. This terrible image is aimed at describing the fatal and gruesome consequence of war. The proud young man who stood straight and tall now wore a metal brace around his waist. He could not talk properly or loudly. He whispered to his mother in a voice that has been damaged by the horror of war, but his mother could neither recognize his voice nor his face. His whole physical appearance had been altered. His torment and torture is not restricted to physical injuries, but he was undergone mental trauma as well. This is reflected in his low voice. "Oh, tell me, my darling son, pray tell me what they done. How is it you come to be this way?" He tried his best to talk, but his mouth could hardly move, and the mother had to turn her face away. Shocked at this wounded and terrifying condition of her son, the mother asked John the reason for his present state of being. John tried his best to open his mouth and speak, but he was unable to do so. His mother could not bear to look at her son's pain and suffering and turned her face away. Ninth stanza. "Don't you remember, Ma, when I went off to war, you thought it was the best thing I could do. I was on the battleground. You were home, acting proud. You wasn't there standing in my shoes." After experiencing the disastrous and evil aspects of war, John seems to be condemned his mother for his unrealistic idea of war. He asks his mother if she remembers that when he was about to embark on the so-called glorious journey of being a war hero, she considered it as the best thing that he could do. He says that while he was fighting on the battlefield in the war, His mother was back at home, feeling proud and happy for the heroic acts of her son without realizing the pain he was going through. John shatters all the false illusions of war. He says that he is thankful that his mother was not there to watch the ruthlessness and bloodshed on the battlefield. 10th stanza. Oh, and I thought when I was there, God, what am I doing here? I am trying to kill somebody or die trying. But the thing that scared me most was when my enemy came close and I saw that his face looked just like mine. Oh Lord, just like mine. John says that when he was on the battlefield, he cried and wondered why he was there, what he was doing there. John brings forward the chaotic, brutal, and irrational aspects of war. He was trying to kill somebody to save himself from being killed. He adds that the thing that scared him the most was when his enemy was close to him and he looked just like him, just like another fellow human being. Here, Dylan addresses the violence and injustice that men commit upon one another. It is a meaningless act that results in the loss of life and property. 11th stanza. And I couldn't help but think through the thunders rolling and stink that I was just a puppet in a play, and through the roar and smoke this string is finally broke, and a cannonball blew my eyes away. Brown is still panic stricken as he recollects that amidst all the chaos and cacophony of war, he took himself as a puppet controlled by a war-mongering administration who were just playing with the soldiers. The lives of the soldiers did not matter to them. All that mattered was victory or defeat. Here, war is aptly compared to the puppet show in which the soldiers have to mindlessly follow orders and kill as many enemies as they can. However, in this moment of contemplation, a cannonball came and blew his eyes away. 12th and the last stanza. As he turned away to walk, his ma was still in shock at seeing the metal brace that helped him stand. But as he turned to go, he called his mother close and he dropped his medals down into her hand. As John turned away, his mother was still in shock to see the metal brace that supported him to stand. She had never imagined that she would see her son in such a terrible condition. When she sent him off to war, she had expected him to return in the same condition, only more proud of his achievements. The poem ends on a very depressing note. As John Brown turned to go, he dropped his medals down into her hand. This image brings forward the futility of war. Is it worth going through so much trouble? Is it worth killing people? A medal cannot give back the vitality and the vigor of the young man. A medal cannot give back the numerous dead soldiers. A medal cannot give back her straight and tall son back to the mother. Let's revise the poem. Thank you.